Let's join together in awakening the spirit that lives within all of us, that we may live more fully and know what it truly means to love and actually be ourselves. So, welcome. Let's explore our sexuality, authenticity, yoga, and human design, all of which intersect and meet at the Cross of Spirit. Hello, and welcome back to the Cross of Spirit. It's me, Rocky, and today is a special day. It's the first time that I have a guest on the episode, and I'm really grateful that guest is one of my first design teachers, Benjamin Torre, who is also a 6'2" splenic generator like myself. Ben was one of the first people that I came across when I discovered design, and he lit up to me right away as someone that was just delightfully and beautifully authentic in the way that he was moving through the world. I found him through YouTube and different videos and followed him to The Hub, which is an online community that he's created with his colleague and friend, Tom Pfeiffer. The very first opportunity I had to really step into my design was through taking their Living Your Design course, which was for generators, and really set me on a beautiful path, set me up to begin engaging with my own experiment in a really deliberate and informed way. So very, very grateful for Ben. Definitely recommend all of you guys check out The Hub, which is an incredible, incredible resource for anyone that's wanting to learn design. I'll put a link in the show notes below. But this today will be a conversation between me and Ben, and I hope you enjoy.
So hi.
Yeah, hi. Yo, what's up? It's been a long time I haven't seen you.
Oh, well, I see you every day, but never live. It's been a while since.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I watch your pictures and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Well, likewise, it's really good to see you.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about music and drumming. When I think about you, Ben, the first, in terms of your design and your rhythm, the channel I always think about when I think of you is the 515, and your both your kind of intrinsic flow, but also your ability to kind of hold that space for others. I guess is it okay if we just jump in and ask you a question? I'm curious. I was talking to a friend a couple of days ago who has the same channel, and he struggles with creating consistent patterns, consistent habits for himself. Because they're constantly being disrupted by the patterns of life, So I was really thinking about this beautiful dance between having your own consistent rhythm, but also being the flow of nature and life and the experience. I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about that, about what flow means to you as really an agent of flow, and what you feel and see in the world that asks you to really sink into and explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my very first understanding of his channel is that it's not Ben's flow. It's not like Ben's rhythm, or it's not Ben's pattern. It's the name of the channel, the design of a universal flow, the design of a universal flow. So it first is the flow of the universe. And then, if I'm receptive, if I'm listening, if I'm in response, I can plug into that, and then I get where I'm supposed to go. But, if I'm like, if it's winter time and I'm like, no, I want to have the pattern of like summertime. So, I'm going to dress up like summertime, and I'm going to go out and fuck the snow and, fuck that shit. And no, I want summertime. This is universal rhythm, dude. It's winter time. So, don't be an idiot and dress up like winter time. So for me, the 15-5 is really, really about listening and being in tune with the universe. And when you are in tune with the universe, then you find this fixed rhythm, this pattern, this design of being in the flow, the rhythm of life. And then you find your own rhythm. Then you find what what is good for you at this particular time, you know. So during winter, my rhythm is completely different than during summertime. You know, it's just different. I have another pattern. And the more I'm really receptive and I'm flowing with life, the easier it is, and it's very satisfying. And that's what I keep telling to people all the time. You know, life is just it's music. That's it. You know, we are sound engineer. We are like an instrument, and we all have a very specific instrument, and we are playing this music. We are dancing this music, this very unique, you know, frequency movement with dancing. It's amazing. And if you can find your own music, then, you know, you become part of the whole. But unless you really vibrate and broadcast your own unique pattern frequency, you're nothing else, you know, that just a burden of the whole, you know, because you're not in the rhythm. So it's like you have a beautiful orchestra with an amazing symphony, and you just show up in the middle of it with, you know, your saxophone, and you're just not playing the tune. So it's like, dude, what the hell are you doing, you know? And that's humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, this is humanity. You know, the gate 15 out of the channel is humanity. So instead of everyone flowing together, everyone is like, I mean, almost 70% of population have an open heart, you know, and the not self of the open heart is I have to be in control so I can prove my worth. So everyone is trying to be in control of the flow so they can prove their worth. I mean, get the joke.
I really, even before finding design, that was something that was very much at the front of my mind. Actually, back during the pandemic, at the beginning of the lockdowns, I really noticed there were a lot of, well, in my community, in the gay community, there are a lot of men who have this sort of insistence that they can maintain a consistent physique or a consistent workout or eat the same foods every day, like this insistence that their body and their life and their rhythm is fixed. And you know, of course, like we have the seasons and the disruptions of nature, but also, you know, with the pandemic or different things that occur that are beyond our control, that ask us to adapt and ask us to go with the flow. And my response to that, because there were a lot of guys I knew who were, I would talk to them and say, "Oh, I'm really feeling depressed or feeling low. I can't get to the gym. I can't do this." So I made an app actually of at-home workouts, you know, to give people a chance to learn new ways to adapt their movement practice, given the context. And something that I really felt and really saw in myself was, but also in people around me, was how hard people are on themselves when the rhythms of the universe, when the rhythms of their environment change, and they are disrupted in their own frequency or disrupted in their own consistency. And, you know, we live in a world that's so insulated from nature. So, you know, we can eat, if we want to, you know, depending on where you live, you can eat the same food all year round, even though it's not, you know, seasonal. You can, you know, kind of have the same rhythm and the same kind of daily pattern, even though the light changes and the rhythms of nature change. And, you know, I know that that's something that is universal. I mean, everybody kind of struggles with that in their own way, but it's disheartening for me when I see how hard people are on themselves for not being, you know, consistent year round, when nothing about nature, nothing about life is consistent year round, both in the ways that are predictable and then also in the ways that are unexpected.
Yeah.
Jumping right in.
Yeah.
So I'd love to, I was reflecting before getting on to talk to you about, it's, you know, full circle to be able to have this conversation in this way, with this context, because you were one of the first people that I came across when I discovered design. You know, like I shared about it on the podcast another time, but I found someone's actually the same friend who I was talking about. He is an NLP coach, and we were doing coaching together, and he sent me screenshots from an app about, you know, being a generator, because he had just found out that he was and wanted to see if it resonated, and it did really very much resonate with me. And that got me on sort of a YouTube search or spiral, learning everything I could about design. And I think I typed in on YouTube 6-2 generator. Just what is that? And yours was one of the first videos that I saw, a call to 6-2s or call out to the 6-2 generator. And watched this video of you, and I just thought, who is this guy? Like you were in Malibu at the time, and you had the human design book. I said, oh, there's a book. And you just seem so delightful and so in love with life and so free, and at least in that video. And and I thought, I want what he's having, like what does he know that I don't know, or what is he experiencing that I'm not experiencing? And that got me looking you up, and I found my way to the hub, and we started talking and did your living your design course, which was incredible and really gave me such a great foundation to begin experimenting with my design. And I think full circle, coming back around and thinking about that, was the recognition that the thing that I saw in you that was so intriguing to me spoke to something that I felt in me that I had either suppressed, or I thought was not, realistic, or there was something in me that was yearning to reconnect with that sort of joy and that zest and that enthusiasm and that sense of wonder about life. I had been, for the years prior, very much connected to, I guess, the rhythms of my environment, but more so politically, like very tossed around in the political discourse. And I was in a pretty, I don't say hopeless place, but I was very much watching the decline of things and searching for some hope or some insight as to what I was witnessing going on in the world. It's such a chaotic time. So I was really grateful to have come across you and to have learned from you, and now to be here and get to hang with you.
Yeah, to hang out. Yeah.
Well, I wonder.
Do you feel?
Go ahead.
Do you feel satisfied? Yeah. Are you still good in LA?
Yeah, actually, we are going next week. My partner and I, we're going to go up to Nevada City and stay for a couple weeks. We have a friend who is out of town, and she offered us her home for a few weeks.
Oh, do you house sit?
Yeah, just a house sit to chill, to be up in the woods and tap into that. I think it's interesting, right? Being splenic and being so like having truth in the now, because I'm coming to recognize that oftentimes the things that I respond to in the now are not necessarily permanent. Someone asked me, do you want to move to Nevada City? But I don't know if that means I want to go there for 2 weeks, and spend some time, or if I want to, sell my things and move there, or move my stuff there. It's just, I only really know what I know in the moment, and it changes. So from where I'm at right now, I don't really feel called to leave LA, but also recognizing how wonderful it is that I have so many opportunities to leave LA. So and then come back, and I love my place and love my. I don't live on the roof, but it feels like I can kind of, be up on the roof, my place, and look down. I realized a lot of it was that I feel like living in LA, I felt this pressure often to come down off the roof, so to speak. Come down, I live in downtown LA, come down and be kind of in the trenches sometimes. And so it felt like I needed to put myself in a location that felt kind of boundaried from that. That it's sort of a state of mind. It's a vibration that I can hold, and regardless of where I am. But who knows? Something may come and surprise me. You are actually, I remember in that video or a conversation we had, maybe this is also part of your extreme nature, but you've moved a lot in the last several years, and really been spontaneous, I think, or responded spontaneously to the next right step. And I wonder, I guess, what you've learned or experienced in all that, in the time that we've known each other. You've been in California, then in Mexico, and now back in France. How is that journey for you? Are you are you satisfied where you are now?
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't even know what to say, but it's just today I just follow the sacral. That's that's it. And yeah, I don't even know what to say. I just love this journey. I it I can be like a little shy usually at the beginning when I arrive somewhere and it's a little bit new. I have the third gate. So the third gate is it's very confusing at the beginning. It's the gate of ordering. So when you arrive, there's always a little bit of confusion, and you need to install the new pattern, and you need to find everything you need to make the pattern flowing again and going into rhythm. So I actually really enjoy complaining. It's something that I have to admit, I really do enjoy complaining, which is kind of funny because it brings me joy, in my own bitching moment, and moodiness. I'm like, oh, this is fucked up, but I really like it, and then I can laugh at it, and then I'm like, finally the pattern is here, and then it settle a little bit and it flows and it's super cool, and then when it's time to leave, my sacral is responding to something else, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's gonna be fun. Seems like I'm going into a new adventure. And I'm very excited. And when I leave, usually I get a little bit nostalgic, because I'm like, oh, but it wasn't so bad, and oh my god, I complained for like 2 weeks, Ben, why? But I know I have this pattern, and I actually really enjoy it. It's really nice. If I have the entire 5818, so I don't know if I'm looking for excuses here, or if I'm justifying myself, but so far what I know is like, when I go into complaining a little bit, it's healthy for me. It's like releasing the pressure, complaining a little bit, arriving into a new place. Yeah, so what can I say about moving all the time? I just really enjoy it, but at some points, especially now, really settling on the roof, I finally find a place. It's a good home base. I like it. It's in the Alps, so I'm in a nice little town city. I have all the mountains everywhere. I can go ski if I want. I have music studio if I want. Everything is here. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stay here for a little while. I still want to enjoy traveling, but then who knows? Who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks my sacral gonna be, yeah, let's go back on adventure.
It's such a different thing. I mean, my whole life I've had this push and pull between wanting to find home and also this restlessness of wanting to explore. And certainly that was much stronger in my third line phase. I made a career out of it, basically, because I just figure out where to be. And I still find my mind sometimes toggling back and forth between, recognizing that my purpose is really to be myself, and to explore what that means, and to decondition at this phase, and to really, especially now, like let so much of what I experienced earlier in my life really give myself time to let it integrate and process, and turn to wisdom. And that's not something that I need to rush, or that I used to think I need to hurry up and integrate, or hurry up and learn the lessons so that I can get on with living my purpose. And I'm realizing now, that is my purpose. It's not needing to figure out where I'm supposed to go, or that I haven't gotten there yet, or that I'm still how to get my sacral to plug into the right work. I realized the other day, I think I am doing the right work. I feel like I am doing the right work because I feel satisfied. It doesn't really feel like work what I'm doing. I'm just exploring the explore. And then there'll still be those moments of restlessness where I'm ready to respond to the next thing, but it's not because I'm searching for the right thing. It's just I'm ready for movement again. And sometimes that looks like picking myself up and moving. And sometimes, even with when I got back from Costa Rica, I felt very secure on the roof there, being in nature. I stayed for 5 extra days after the retreat was over, so I could really be in my hermit mode, but in the jungle, expansive. And it's like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to live here. Do I want to live here? And then I got home back to LA, and I was like, oh, the vibration here is so different, and I don't know if I can. And then something clicked in me where I looked around in my apartment, and I thought, oh, I do kind of live in the jungle, and I have created that life for myself, and and I get to go back to Costa Rica in a few months. It's not like I need to figure out, like I did for so long, where the right place is. And I'm just on this endless search of trying to figure everything out. It is so nice to just surrender into to the sacral and into my own inner wisdom and let the path unfold. But I'm still relatively early in my process, but the longer I go along this path, I really can hear the difference between what my mind says and what my sacral says. It's like they're moving apart, or I can choose this or that.
Yeah. Well, we only have here and now as a splenic. It's it just takes a lot of courage, when you're a splenic person and you really want to experiment what it means to be a spleen in the now. For years, my home was just a bag, that was my backpack, and that was my home. And I really experienced it to just be here now. And, I was traveling somewhere and I was responding and I was staying there and I was like, okay, this is it. My mind was like, okay, this is it. We're going to stay here for a little while. And then I was invited to go somewhere else. And when I arrived somewhere else, my sacral was even more responding. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to stay here now. So I didn't have any attach or place to go back to. So it was easier for me. I was like flying to a new country and I was like, oh, I like it here. I'm going to stay 2-3 months and, just staying wherever I was responding to.
Yeah, it's interesting that I really relate to that. Like I have this gate 50 as well in my design, and I'm often very afraid of any kind of commitments or responsibilities that will hold me in one place, because I know how limiting that can feel. And it creates a different kind of dance with the sacral, right? Because I have a partner, I have a dog, I have 100 and something plants, I have all these things. I ask myself, do I want to let go of some of those things and put everything in storage and just be able to freely follow my sacral wherever it leads? And it's like, no, I actually, it's useful for me, I think, to find ways to feel free to follow my sacral response, but not in a way that's relative to my life, that's reckless, or not in a way that abandons my responsibilities or my, I care about my people. I care to nurture my people, my plants, and my, the things that I've curated. And I also wish to feel free. And it's just a process. It's really interesting because, my notion of freedom is like, I can go wherever I want, whenever I want, and just, on a whim, or on and I certainly could if I chose to do that, but it's that's why I say it's encouraged me, I think, to consider what my sacral response is as a splenic generator in a different way. It's not that every single thing that my sacral responds to means that that's what I should do. Sometimes it's more information. For example, with Nevada City, like I went there several times and people asked, do you think you don't want to live here? And I think looking back, I recognize that it's not so much that meant that I am supposed to move to Nevada City necessarily, but it allowed me to recognize that, I do crave nature. I do crave retreat and restoration and renewal. there is something about a simpler existence that is compelling to me and that does feel nurturing to me. And so just the information of me responding to that gave me more information about what I need to create more balance in my life. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I wonder, it's who knows who listens to my podcast and what they know about design and all this. I try not to speak to anyone in particular, but I recognize we are kind of speaking about nuances of channels and circuits and stuff. I started, that's what I'm interested in. But I guess speaking more broadly, I'd love to just know more about, I guess, your journey with design. And you've been in your experiment now for about 7 years. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I met design in 2012, so it's been 11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't fully went like radical into it. I was still I did something else. It wasn't the right timing. Yeah.
Well, could you speak to, I guess, what maybe if there were sort of highlights or chapters of kind of maybe what your assumptions were in the beginning, how maybe some of those assumptions got turned on their head, and what it felt like to actually begin that deconditioning process for yourself, and what had to kind of die or be surrendered in order to connect more with your own flow or higher purpose, and where you are now. I mean, what are some of the things that maybe you see people just starting out on their journey, like myself, or even looking back at where you were, that you'd like to reflect on, or that you recognize as maybe patterns that could be corrected to make for a more seamless journey, if there is such a thing?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
You want me to ask a different way?
Yeah.
Looking back on your journey with design deconditioning, maybe some of your assumptions in the beginning versus where you are now, and some of the things you've learned along the way about the process. Do you have reflections that you'd like to share that could be valuable for people like myself, or even people like what would you, difficulty at the beginning, right? If you could go back and give yourself information to make it less difficult, what would it be?
Yeah, well, truth is that 10, 11 years ago, I didn't speak English at all. So when I met design, nothing was available in French. Absolutely nothing, I had my reading in French, but the person who gave me the reading, he gave me the book in English, and he was like, hey, learn English because you're going to need that. And I was like, well, and learning an entire new language just to learn design wasn't really what was exciting me. And so I just put it aside. And at this time, I was all into the propaganda of Tony Robbins and, go and chase your dream and all of that. And so I was just busy doing this. And eventually at some point, when I moved to London, and I was a CrossFit coach, and I was just working out and teaching CrossFit, being a personal trainer. When my English got better, I opened the book again and I looked it up, and I was like, wait a second, that makes sense. Oh, I like that. And I was like, maybe it's time to get a new reading. Maybe I'm just gonna find someone who can actually give me a reading now that I understand English pretty well. So I find Lavina, and I got a reading from her, and then I was hooked. I was like, okay, where do I sign? What's the next step? I was like, I want to learn more about these things, and I did the class, and and that's it. I don't have the only thing I can say is just the recognition of the mind, and always going back to the basics. Strategy, authority, that's it. We don't need much. We don't need to know all the channels and the gates, and people are always like looking at all those things, and it's nice. It's candy for the mind. But like, yeah, one thing I will say to people, just stick with strategy authority. That's way more than enough. Then everything unfolds. Then if you really pay attention, everything unfolds. And then you're going to laugh, because then you can see, oh, but that's me. Oh, oh, that's my profile. Oh, that's my cross. Oh, that's so funny. It's me. Yeah, just strategy authority. That's it.
It's interesting that I relate to a lot of that. And I find that in following my strategy and my authority, it is interesting to notice the things that I gravitate towards that are maybe have nothing to do with design, or maybe have to do with certain teachers in design or certain information in design. But there is also, sometimes I've noticed within the design community, and this feels like a contradiction sometimes, that when your strategy and authority leads you in a particular direction, there are those people that will say like, oh, that's wrong, or don't go over there, or that you're overcomplicating it, or you're doing this. Like, well, but what if my sacral is leading me to there, and I check in, is this correct for me? And it's I mean, for now at least. Who knows, maybe in a week or a month it might not anymore. So I think when I first started, not that long ago, but still, I felt like, oh, I'll follow my strategy and authority, I won't need anything else. And then I've come to realize that, oh, my strategy and authority is leading me to lead me to you. It leads me to other bits of information. Sometimes it leads me away from design into some other area of study. And there's a surrender in that as well. I have this channel, the 1034, like following my own path. And I realized for so many years, I was so afraid of that. I kind of was, I wanted someone just to tell me what to do, because I was like a trailblazer, and it was lonely. And I felt like I constantly had to explain to people what I was doing because it didn't make sense. If I really follow my own path, I'm going to be lonely. People won't understand me. There's no precedent for who I am and what I want to do. And so I found myself suppressing that a lot of the time to follow instructions from other people. It felt more secure. And I can't say what the biggest, sometimes I'll say, oh, the greatest thing design has taught me is this. Then I realize I say that a lot. There's all these different things, but really giving me permission to follow my own path and notice in myself sometimes how afraid I am, or I can be, of being called out or being corrected or being put on notice. They're like, oh, you're doing it wrong. Because this you know what I'm saying, like there does seem to be a contradiction sometimes, I find, of like this idea that there's a right way to decondition and there's a wrong way. It's like, well, if it's follow strategy and authority, who knows, like it might lead you to play music, it might lead you away from design at some point, it might lead me back to being an actor. Who knows what this path is going to look like for all of us.
Yeah. At this point, I just don't know, and I'm like, leave me alone. I just want to play music. I don't give a fuck about whoever is on this planet. It just doesn't matter to me. Yeah, people can do whatever the hell they want. I don't care.
Yeah, much easier, huh?
Yeah.
Do you find that so something that you shared with me recently that was impactful for me, and actually I spoke to it a bit on my last episode, because the more I learn about actually the fifth line and this projection field business of the fifth line, and we've had conversations, and you've posted and shared information, maybe for me, maybe not for me, but I've listened and paid attention about the kind of propaganda of the fifth line, and I actually went through recently and really looked at my chart and looked at the places where I have the fifth line in my design. I have quite a lot of fifth and fourth line in my, more so than I have sixth line in terms of and it was interesting to see that all of the lines, or all the gates that were in the fifth line for me, really spoke to my role, my identity as a teacher. And I felt for so many years this sort of tension between the pressure that I felt at a certain level to really show up and be a teacher and be a leader. And people really projected that onto me, like, oh, work with Rocky. He can help you achieve your potential. And he's really achieving his potential, like all this stuff about projected potential. And when I saw that, it was very illuminating for me.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's why it's never really felt like me fully, but I've stepped into that role so easily. As I kind of, did some processing and work around that. And I realized too, that was also a big part of why I think I felt both afraid and also really compelled to reveal more of myself in an honest way. And that looked like, for a while, OnlyFans, like I'm just going to reveal myself in my nakedness, literally, because I want to blast through any of these projections that you have about who I am, or my role as a teacher and what that looks like or what that means I can't do. Now I realize it has less to do with like revealing my body and just more about revealing myself and just being honest. Look as I look at your, I don't know your trajectory, but even like I know that you also step into a teacher role often. It's how we met, and you are a leader, in the ways that you are. But I also know that, or I also get the sense that that's something that that's what I want to say. I guess I'm wondering what your experience of that is. How you've navigated, both kind of maybe the pressure of being a teacher, being a leader, or the desire to be that, and then also this like, actually, I don't give a fuck what anybody does. I just want to play music. Like, what is that dance like for you? Is it something that you go back and forth between? Is it something that shows up for you when you are in a leadership role and then kind of goes away? How do you manage the projections of others, or do you even care anymore?
I'm an ego being, I have an ego. So I'm like, I never ever wanted to be a teacher. I never ever wanted to be a leader. I don't want to be a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I don't want to be a leader. I have no interest in all of that. I really don't care. What I really enjoy is to have fun with people. That's why I'm like, hey, you guys, come on, let's go together and let's go have fun. Hey, come on, I have something that is super cool. I want to show you, and that's why I do classes. I'm like, hey, I know something. It's so cool. I've been using it. It's so amazing. I want to share with you. Who is interested?
Yes.
And that's what I want to do, is to share, to have fun with people. But then if you put on me, you the teacher, you the leader, I don't want. I don't want that, because that's not me. I'm not interested in that. I don't want this responsibility. I'm gonna leave me alone. I'll go back play music. The only thing that interests me is to get people to have fun with me. And if they want to have fun with me, it's so cool. We can all be together and vibrate together, and we can all dance together. That's amazing. That turns me on. All the rest, I so don't care. I don't want it. I don't want to have it. That's why I'm not chasing after people to do classes, to do readings, I don't care. I'm horrible with business. Because the only thing that really interests me every day is to go to the music studio. That's the only thing I want. And even when I'm like, hey, am I going to start a class? Who wants to come? It's just because I'm fucking bored. I'm fucking bored and I want to have fun with people. So I'm like, yeah, let's do a class together, and I can show you some super cool tricks, and we can, share design, and I can show you a few things, and because I want to empower people, I want to give to them. It's so cool. I mean, I have the 2551, which is channel of initiation. So I want to initiate you to something new, because I see that right now it's the time for you to get a new knowledge. It's the timing, baby. Timing is here. It's the universal flow. We need to start the class so I can initiate you and transmit to you the correction of your pattern so you can perfect the form. That's my channels. But beside that, I don't care. It's not my job. I'm not a fifth line. I don't want to teach anything. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be that shit.
I love that. I really relate to that.
Just go back, play music. That's what I love to do. I mean, that's why I play music. It's like, hey, come on, guys, come with me. Let's be together. Let's just find a vibe, find like a rhythm, so we all together. Wow, wow, wow! It's music. Wow, it's so cool. I mean, that's why I have Tom with me when I do classes, because it's so cool to have Tom. I'm like, it's Tom and I, we're having fun. I'm sharing stuff. Tom talk, you guys, are like, wow, that's so cool. And what about this? And what about that? I'm like, well, so blah, 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 blah. That's it. You know?
Can I respond to that?
Uh-huh.
I realized actually in a conversation I had with Tom, I was thinking back to when I did my first yoga teacher training and really what informed that. And it was very similar that I was learning so much at the time that was really exciting to me and felt so useful for me and my own knowledge and my own path. And I found that with my friends, when I would go and hang out with them and they were still complaining about the same stuff and going through the same, going through whatever they were going through at the time, it made me feel alone, whereas like I don't want to be the only one learning this information. And if I'm the one learning it, I like to share it with my friends, not because I want to teach them. I don't want to be my friends' teachers, but I want to share it with them so we can do this together, so that
Exactly.
all this together. And so then I thought, well, okay, well then how do I is there a career that am I a life coach now? Am I like, what do I, and then I ended up doing a yoga training in the same way. I loved yoga. But oftentimes when I'd go by myself to the studio by myself. And, and so when I did my training, it was this of like, I want to be able to teach my friends, not so much because I want to teach them, but because I don't want to do this by myself. I want to be doing yoga together.
So they can vibrate with you, right?
Exactly. And then I, as my career progressed, it became this, then it kind of becomes a different creature. And I have an open throat. It became this thing of, okay, I need to get more attention for my classes, so more people will be there, so that I can have more people to vibrate with and to play with and to engage with. And that there's strategies about how you get more views and get more likes and get more exposure and get on this platform and get over here. And before I knew it, I sort of had this whole machine behind what I was doing that was all supported to kind of keep me at this level of esteem in terms of my role as a teacher. And I'm proud of what I created and blah blah blah. Like but it always felt this tension of like, really, I just want to be with people, and I just don't. I want to be able to share, even with design. I've gone for a while of thinking, do I want to be like an analyst? Do I want to be a reader? Do I want to be? And it's like, no, I don't. It's not even that for me. This is so interesting to me that I want my friends to know their design so we can talk about it, so we can share. So the conversation is more interesting for me. And that was really the place from which I wanted to start sharing design with other people, was so that you could all be in this together and we could find more. I'd work with people sometimes that I'd see their chart and I'd be like, oh, there's so much beautiful potential for us to co-create together. And they were so, conditioned and so not self. It's like, oh, we can't ever really get to that place of being able to form this beautiful quantum between us and co-create in the way that I want to. So I found myself sharing as much as I could about design with them, which is I just want to know them, with them. So I really relate to that, and it's interesting, to ponder how to really maintain, for me, for where I am, really maintain that awareness for myself of who I am and what my intention is, because it is so easy. It has been so easy in the past for me to take on the projections of others about me as a teacher, me as an expert, as a guide, as a leader, and understanding more recently why that's always felt both like an honor, I suppose. The recognition is nice, but also kind of like a deviation from who it is I'm actually really want to be in the world. And I also have that same exchange with music too, where it's like, I can get so wrapped up and so embroiled in all of this that I'm like, think about you. I just want to go sing. Want to go dance. Just want to go sing.
I mean, you know, this is who 6-2s are.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom repeated it so many times to me, you know, and I remember Ross saying it, you know, over and over and over. People won't be interested anymore, you know, on all those gurus and teachers and all of that. You know, they're gonna be interested in can you walk the talk?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna, I mean, this is what the sixth line is all about: observer and observe.
Mm-hmm.
People are watching us. I mean, this weekend I have a 3 days retreat. You know, is that okay if I share?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a 3 days retreat. You know, and I don't do anything. I have a 1-3 manifester, emotional manifester that is doing everything for me. He's booking people, he's booking the retreat place, he's calling everywhere, he's initiating everything. And then, you know, he's just asking me, Ben, do you want to come and share who you are? He's like, do you want to come and do the retreat? And I'm like, why not? But I'm like, I'm not going to teach anything. You know, I'm just going and being me. And he's like, yeah. I'm selling it as your lifestyle. People come and just watch you for 3 days. And I'm like, that sounds good.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm gonna go there for 3 days and just gonna watch me. And we're gonna do my lifestyle. So we're gonna talk about design, we're gonna drink a bit of cacao, we're gonna do some breath work, you know, we're gonna listen some music, I'm gonna play the guitar, just gonna vibrate all together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to a 6 line new year where people are not going to sit anymore in a fucking conference room listening a guru for hours and hours and, you know, seminars after seminars. No, they just going to be, hey, can I come hang out with you? Can I watch you? Can I observe you? Can I plug into your lifestyle for a couple of days?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's kind of funny because when I lived in London, that's what I used to do. I used to charge people just to hang out with me. That's it. Oh, you wanna? Yeah, it's $500 for an afternoon. Come hang out with me. I don't know what we're gonna do, but you know, you can ask your questions. And I do me, and you follow. Is that okay? And people were like, "Yeah, so cool."
Can I respond?
Yeah.
When I was in Costa Rica, that was very much a feeling that I had, especially after everyone left. I thought, oh, what if I just lived here and just stay, like, bask in this energy, in this vibration, and I could almost be like a well, who knows what the title is, like a human design escort.
Yeah,
Just come hang out
exactly.
with me for a weekend or for a week, and we can just go swim in the water and nerd out on your design, and do yoga together and hang out together, and that there's value in that. I will say, like, everything that you're saying very much resonates with me, and it was something that started to occur to me several years ago once I started doing podcasts and interviews and things where I wasn't showing up as a teacher, but I was just showing up as myself to talk. And
Yeah.
I would get messages from people that would say, "Oh, it's so inspiring for me to just hear you," or the way that you are living so authentically is really impactful to me. And it was such a beautiful recognition for me, because I will say everything you're talking about sounds beautiful and has been a really challenging thing to step into with an open heart center. The open because
Yeah.
because it's and that's why I think this notion of self-worth and really being able to rest in the knowledge of the value of my energy, independent of how anybody else is receiving value from it, just that my presence is valuable, because that's not something that's come easily to me. And it's found me really saying, at a certain level in my head, it's been like, well, who am I to just assume that hanging out with me is valuable? I need to have a curriculum and content and a lecture planned, and I need to learn a lot. I need to prove my value based on what I know and what I have to say, and my talents and my skills and my integrity, and that I do what I say I'm going to do. And fuck, it's been like exhausting.
Oh yeah.
That's been the biggest again, here I go again. That's the biggest thing. But as of right now, it's really just coming to rest in that more and more, that my presence, my company, my energy, my sacral, my life force is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to sell it or figure out how to get people to buy it. It's dormant 26 business.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary. It's not scary. It's beautiful, but it's an interesting process to go through to recognize.
Yeah.
There's also some grief in there too, of like, fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, you said it. You said it. The gate 26 in your open ego, open heart center. I mean, the not self will be, I need to be in control so I can sell it and prove my worth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been manipulative too, I'll be honest, because there's times when I don't have the energy. There's times when I don't believe in my own value. There's times I don't even know if what I'm selling is valuable, but I got to go to figure out how to make it sound more valuable than I believe it is. Or I got to figure out what are the 10 bonus things that you get when you sign up, because I'm not enough just in what I am. And
it's like, if I'm in control of the sales, I can prove my worth. Yeah.
And
I mean, we human being, being. Yeah.
Well, I continue to be inspired by you, Ben.
Thank you.
It's I think I told you some time ago when we were chatting back and forth that your will center kind of freaks me out sometimes.
I think it freaks me out too.
But our designs are different, of course, in the ways that they are. But there's also a lot of similarities between our centers and splenic generators. But you got that will center, and so that's always been the center that I feel most strongly from you, and it's so good at kind of calling me out on my bullshit. It's so good at recognizing when I'm trying to put on. One of the very first sessions of the living your design that I was doing with you, and this was such a beautiful initiation that I had, such a beautiful ego death that I had with you. I was so lit up. I was going through such this generator surge of ecstasy from learning about design and kind of understanding the chart a little bit more, and I showed up to one of the sessions and I just vomited all of this ecstasy and joy and all this stuff, and I was so excited. And then you kind of proceeded to just call out how almost everything I said was not self. Here you are trying to prove that your ideas deserve attention and they're inspiring and and all I could do was laugh. It was such a beautiful surrender, because it was all the things that I am afraid someone's going to call me out on. Here's somebody who's calling me out on these things from a loving place, because they want me to step into my higher self, or my true self, and not be plagued by all of these by all this conditioning and all this need to prove myself kind of thing. And it was, do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah, that's funny.
I've had similar kind of initiations or shocks to my system since then, even recently, even with this podcast. I had a beautiful a couple weeks ago. The first several episodes of this podcast, I realized I showed up, and it was hard for me to just show up as myself. I kind of it's so natural to put on this teacher voice and here, what am I going to be sharing? What's the value of this episode? And blah blah blah. And there was value in it, but it wasn't exactly how I wanted to show up. And for about a week or two, there was probably 4 or 5 people. You were one of them, without realizing it. All of whom had either the 51 or the 5125 that gave me these little mini shocks that kind of brought me back into my innocence in a way. Calling out you're trying to prove yourself here. You're trying to make this more complicated than it needs to be. And it was uncomfortable, but I also found that the beauty in it. And so I just want to acknowledge that one of the very first things I felt from you without realizing it was this channel of initiation, and how shocking it can be. But if you're willing to be initiated, it provides such a beautiful surrender into innocence that has made my life so much sweeter. And it continues to show up, it's like every time I find that I want to grip on or defend myself or hold on, it's like, oh, what happens if I just let go?
Yeah.
Thank you for thank you for talking initiations and beautiful innocence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, what do you think? You feel complete?
Yeah. It's 8 p.m. here, and I just put some potatoes in the oven. So, because I'm getting hungry.
Okay, good.
But yeah. Do you feel complete?
I just one more thing I'd like to share.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me too, and I've done interviews or even the last time we did an Instagram live, and there's still that part of my mind that's like, oh, I wonder if what we're talking about will be valuable for others or and the feedback that I almost always get is just, it's so nice just to hear two generators talking to each other and responding with their sacral sounds. Simple as
so. Yeah. Well, we both have an open throat, and I can find myself really, trying sometime to just have something to say, because if it would be me, I mean, pretty silent. It usually I'm gonna speak when I really have a rhythm or something, that I'm gonna initiate, and it's out of my channels. But otherwise, I'm like, well, I don't know what to say.
I understand. I mean, my throat is open, but I got all these unconscious channels that shoot out of it, before I know it.
And I got this gate.
Yeah, I got this 45 too. That here I am to present. But
yeah,
I do really. I feel that even every time I show up to do the podcast, there's a voice in my head that says, "You don't know what you're going to say. What are you going to say? You better figure out what you're going to say before you get on the thing." I was even thinking that walking my dog this morning. I was like, well, how the hell am I going to know what I'm going to say until I have Ben here to respond to what he's saying?
Yeah. Do you like doing the podcast? Yeah. Is that comfortable for you to do podcast?
It is. And what's made it way more comfortable for me has been letting go of the pressure that I need to be consistent. Every week at the same time, and that I need, that was the same thing with online, anything. That was the part that was so it felt like a pressure. But it was beautiful, for me. I showed up one day, I was doing it every Friday. I showed up to record and I just couldn't do it. And I asked myself, do I want to do this today? And so for 3 weeks I didn't record anything. And I realized,
is that okay for you?
Yeah. So show up. Here we are.
Exactly. I mean, we don't have a head, we don't have the throat, so we cannot be consistent with inspiration, consistent with talking. So it's like me. I wanted to do a music podcast, every week, like releasing a new music sets, and then I was like, no way. Even if I have an ego, I can have the willpower to be, pretty consistent. But I was like, no way, Ben. If you do one a month, it's good,
Well,
and I was, yeah. Go ahead.
I find too that if I try to make a plan, or for anything, even if it's like a to-do list or I'm going to do this every Friday, I end up expending. I'm realizing now how much energy it takes to try to plan things, and how much energy it takes. Even if I know I'm doing it every Friday, then on Monday I'm already thinking about what am I doing? Do I want to do? So by the time it comes to actually record it, I'm already exhausted. So I find that if I did it last Friday, I'm doing it again now. It's felt easy. So I may naturally do it every Friday if I don't put the pressure on myself. But if I think it's this extrinsic thing, like people care or people aren't going to tune in unless it's all this, just all this pressure I put on myself.
Yeah, it's all the propaganda, fifth line manifested that if you want to be successful, or you have to do consistently every week at this time, this is the podcast This is the way to do your marketing and to get your followers. And if you fuck that shit, I mean, we're Splenic, we're here now,
Well, I think there's lots of great value in a lot of the but it's definitely it's the insistence on the rhythm or on the pattern or the consistency that's always fucked me up. I remember I was in can I share one more thing real quick?
Yeah.
I remember because this actually contributed a lot to me finding design, I think, when I look back. I was in Costa Rica last year and I was like in the jungle at the most beautiful place ever, having the most wonderful time. And at that time I had a TikTok and 3 different Instagrams, and I was putting out music, and I had this page and that page and all that. And I remember every morning I would wake up in paradise and I would instantly feel this stress of like, what am I going to post today on this page? I haven't posted on this page in a couple of days. I need to post here. I need to post there. And I actually had like a breakdown. It became so painful for me where I was like, this isn't fun. I don't enjoy any of this anymore. It's just a chore. It's just a task to try to make sure I get attention. And now knowing my design, I understand. But at the time, it just felt like, when do I get to break free of this? And it was a few weeks later that design came into my life. So, I recognize a lot of the questions I was asking earlier last year. I have many other stories about that, but the beginning part of last year was very much me queuing up all of these kind of existential questions that I think were design came into my life in response to those. So here's to following the sacral and doing things when the time is right.
Boom.
Ben, I adore you. I'm so grateful to have
thank you. Yeah.
Fractal and to have found you in my life. And thank you for
being
with me today.
Yeah, you have been such a studious student, if I can say like that. But yeah, it's cool. I really like, seeing progress for people. I think that's why I'm always excited to share whatever I learn, and then I integrate it. And I'm like, okay, that works. I really want to share it with people so, they can do the same too. That's maybe the leadership aspect. If I like to be a leader, for that, yeah. If I can show them something that I know it works and it will make their life better, oh yeah, that's cool, because it's mutual success.
I look forward to learning a lot more from you in the future. But I would say, to the extent that you're not aware of it, I continue to learn from you every day, just watching.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That you said, and seeing the way that you are you. It gives me you've provided perhaps the greatest shock to my system of recognizing all of the not self aspects of what was running the show for so many years, and I'm continuously grateful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Rocky. Yeah. Well, I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Absolutely. All right, my friend. Yeah, enjoy your the rest of the day for you, and and I'm looking forward to seeing you at some point.
Definitely. Ditto. Love you.
Okay. Love you too. Bye bye.